Hi, my name is Maya. I'm with Honeybee Gems, and this is Jeff. Let's say hi to everyone, Jeff.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we're going to be discovering the beautiful gemstone of opals. This beautiful gemstone has so many radiant colors due to its characteristic known as play of color. This gemstone takes tens and millions of years to form, and there are no two opals alike, as their formation is uniquely dependent upon their chemistry and geology of these gemstones. Opals are considered to be precious gemstones, and they are only to be found in a few places across the globe, such as Brazil, Ethiopia, Honduras, Mexico, Indonesia, the US, and Australia. 95% of the precious gemstones are found in Australia, and this is because Australia provides the perfect conditions for its formation due to its ancient inland sea that once covered the continent. Here's some fun facts. Did you know that an opal is the national gemstone for Australia? Opal is also a gemstone for a 14-year wedding anniversary, an official birthstone for the month of October, and opals are also found on Mars. I'm now going to turn this over to Jeff so we can learn more about opals and their countries of origin.
So today I wanted to give you some examples of the different types of opal that forms in different locales around the globe. And so the first one we're going to start with is this one here. This is a typical example of wood replacement opal that's found in Indonesia. And so quite often pieces of tree branches and roots get buried for millions of years in soil, and then silica-rich water flows into the soil and actually dissolves some of the wood and replaces it with silica dioxide and the water and produces opal. And so you get actual precious opal with play of color that forms along the body of the branch. So you can see some of the flashing in there. So this is pretty typical of what you find in Indonesia. The next one I want to show you is an example of Honduran matrix opal. This is sometimes referred to as galaxy opal. And you can see some of the play of color in there, blues and greens in this particular example. And so these are called galaxy opal for obvious reasons because they resemble galaxies. That's typical of really any kind of opal with pinfire pattern, but when people talk about galaxy opal, it is typically Honduran opal they're referring to. Now, there is also crystal opal in Honduras as well, including a relatively new find that's just coming on the market with some beautiful water clear opals. Really, really nice stuff. Next one I have for you is an example of one of the types of opal that forms in the United States. This is actually Louisiana opal. And it doesn't show up great on camera, but you can see some of the oranges and greens and yellows that are flashing across the surface of this. On these, you can see the flash of color dancing across the surface of the stone and then the sandstone behind it that it forms in. And so this is a relatively rare type of opal because it was only mined for about a year or so, and then the company that owned the lease to the land actually canceled the miner's lease. So there may never be any more of this opal that ever comes out of the ground, even though there may still be plenty of it sitting in the ground. The next one I want to show you is Mexican opal, and there's two different types of Mexican opal that I have here for you. The two on the right, the trillion-shaped one and the boomerang-shaped one, are crystal opals from Mexico. Much, much rarer. Typically what you see from Mexico is the boulder opal in the form of this Cantera opal, it's known as. And Cantera opal is always characterized really by that pinkish orange type of matrix that it forms in, which is known as cantera stone, and it's used for building materials and things like that in Mexico as well. But it actually provides the perfect host rock for the formation of opal. So very, very cool stuff. The next one I have for you is one of the hardest varieties of opal, and this is actually Brazilian opal, which forms in these white-bodied crystal stones. You can see the play of color in these. Light opal doesn't show well on camera usually. These are extremely bright, so we are getting some of the flash coming across here. This is nice stuff to work with because it is quite hard, much harder than most other types of opal. And just beautiful, beautiful stuff, quite rare. The next one I want to show you is Ethiopian opal, and I have two different varieties to show you. This is the one that people are going to be more familiar with typically in jewelry. And this is from the Wollo province in Ethiopia, and this is known as Wilo opal. And you can see the beautiful display of colors in this. This is a crystal opal, so it is quite transparent. This is also a hydrophane opal. Most Ethiopian opal is, certainly Wilo opal, which means that it's porous and so it absorbs water quite easily. That's why it's called hydrophane. That makes it much better suited, in my opinion, for earrings and pendants than it is for rings, because if these opals get wet, or when they get wet, then they will absorb the water into the stone, which interferes with the play of color. And the opals will tend to go clear and have no play of color whatsoever. And then in days to weeks, as they dry out, then the color will come back. The real problem is that if you don't take these rings off when you're washing your hands, or especially putting lotion on and things, then whatever you're putting on your hands can actually absorb into the stones and could kill the color permanently. So you do have to be quite careful if you're wearing these in rings. But it is just some absolutely beautiful opal. Now, this is a lesser known type of Ethiopian opal, and these come from the Showa province in Ethiopia, and these are known as Shiwa opals. These are chocolate opals, as they're known, and they have this rich chocolatey base. You have the lighter colored ones, like the little round one at the bottom, and then you have the darker colored ones, like the one in the top right, and then the kind of medium browns on the left, and sometimes you almost get a purplish brown body tone to these. But it really provides a nice dark background for the play of color to display on top of. And you can see some really cool patterning in that small round one as well. A little bit of chaff pattern in there. Very, very pretty stuff. Quite brittle, so again, much better suited for pendants and earrings than it is for rings, but just very, very beautiful stuff. So now we're going to move to Australia, which, as Maya mentioned, is where about 95% of all opal comes from. And there's a variety of opals that form there. These are examples of boulder opal that forms in an ironstone matrix and fills in nooks and crannies, and then hardens over time and forms this precious opal. So these are just some of the variety of different looks you can get from boulder opals. These come from the Queensland area in Australia. Just some very, very unique stones. Now, from the Andamuka area, you get a type of matrix opal, much like the Honduran one, although this one forms in a very, very light-bodied sandstone. And then this one actually gets treated. So it's treated by boiling it in a sugar solution and then boiling it in a sulfuric acid solution, which then carbonizes and darkens the body, but leaves the opal untouched. It just provides the dark background that allows you to see the colors. So this is a beautiful example of Andamuka matrix opal. And so the next one I want to show you is some of the more typical opal that you will see from Australia. This is an example from the region of Coober Pedy. And so this is a light-bodied opal. Beautiful display of colors on this one. They're even coming through on camera, which is quite unique for this color of body tone. So that's from Coober Pedy. I also have a slightly darker body tone opal. This is from Lightning Ridge. This is a beautiful Lightning Ridge specimen with quite full spectrum of colors. It even has some periwinkle blue in there, which is a quite rare color in opal. And as we continue to darken in body tone, we get something that looks like this. This is an example from Mintaby, which is an area that the government has actually recently closed down for mining, unfortunately. Some beautiful opal comes out of Mintaby. This is an example of opal that formed in vertical striations. It gives you this really cool patterning in here. The telltale sign that an opal comes from Mintaby is this more granular sandstone that you can see a little bit of on the back. That's the type of matrix it forms in, as opposed to most other regions in Australia that have a much smoother consistency to the sandstone. So when you see that gritty kind of sandstone, you know it's a Mintaby opal. Now we're getting into the darker semi-black and black opals. And as the body tone darkens, you, all other things being equal, go up considerably in value. These are some beautiful examples of Lightning Ridge opal. And again, these are semi-black to black based on their body tone, with just all kinds of different colors displaying in them. And then finally, we get to the black end of the spectrum. And so here we have a couple of quite dark body tone opals, again, from Lightning Ridge, Australia, with some beautiful play of color. And so again, the darker the body tone of the opal, the better it sets off the colors. And so this stuff is quite rare and quite expensive. Some black opals have been known to go for upwards of $25,000 or $30,000 per carat. So they can challenge even the best quality diamonds for sure. So now I'm going to toss this back over to Maya, and she's going to show you some of the jewelry that we have that contains opals as well.
All right, guys. Now this is the fun stuff where we get to see the jewelries that we have made and also available for purchase as well. The first one that I want to display is a stunning Night of Crystal Fire pendant. Now this is a rare 14 karat rose gold bezeled Mexican dark crystal opal with a tube set, blue diamond, and green sapphire green garnet. And you can see that this is the Mexican opal with the blue diamond and the green sapphire. The next one I wanted to show you case is the stained glass window necklace. And this is the elegant stained glass window necklace. Sterling necklace with the Colruyt boulder opal cabochon faceted white sapphire baguettes and a stunning 14 karat gold prong set spine from Pakistan. See the spine right here, and then the opal and the white sapphires baguettes. And these are the beads right here, and these are the sterling silver, the Andalusite, and also the Hazanite. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jeff, and he's going to display and showcase some more jewelry.
So here are 3 other opal pendants that we have created. The first one is the Drop of Fire pendant. It's a sterling silver pendant with 14 karat rose gold Ethiopian opal doublets that have been, again, bezeled in 14 karat rose gold. You also, in the center, have this little accent ring that is rose gold as well. It's a very unique design. These doublets are quite unique also. Usually doublets are very, very thin wafers of opal that are essentially epoxied onto some sort of backing material to give them enough thickness to allow them to be mounted in jewelry, and also to provide a dark background to make the colors pop. Usually most of the stone is not opal. These are just the opposite. These are almost completely solid opal with a very, very almost paper thin backing of a polymer material that's really just there to darken the background, not to add any weight or thickness to the opal at all. So these are beautiful, beautiful Ethiopian opal doublets. The middle one that we have here is the Portrait of a Hawaiian Afternoon pendant. This is a Colruyt boulder opal that has been made with a castellated sterling silver bezel. And then the frame is also sterling silver. There is an accent stone sitting in the top left here, kind of representing the sun, and that is a white sapphire that has been tube set in 14 karat yellow gold. The chain is sterling silver with accent beads of blue sapphire and blue apatite and a little bit of green emerald higher up. And this is a really unique Koroite boulder opal in that when you look at this thing, you know, blues and greens and a little bit of brown and things that make it look like two palm trees swaying in the breeze in front of the ocean behind it. So that's why I kind of put it in a picture frame. It just reminded me of a Hawaiian picture. And then the last one that we have here on the right is one of my favorites. It's the Fairy Dewdrop pendant. And this is again a castellated bezel in sterling silver. And this is an Australian fairy opal. It has been treated to darken it a bit, but that just brings out the beautiful gemmy greens and reds and blues. And so to kind of pick up on that, I accented it with green emerald, faceted emerald, and faceted blue sapphire and faceted red ruby. Those have been set, tube set in 14 karat gold. And on the sterling silver chain, you'll see there are accent stones going all the way up. And so again, we have 14 karat gold tube set rubies and sapphires and emeralds going up the chain as well to continue that color all the way around the neck. Beautiful, beautiful piece of jewelry here. Let me turn this back over to Maya to wrap up our presentation.
Thank you, Jeff, for displaying and showcasing the jewelry. They're beautiful jewelries. And I wanted to thank each and every one of you. You can learn more about opals if you like. There is a TED Ed video out there that Jeff written, and the animation crew did a phenomenal job in displaying the content. I hope that you'll check it out. And we want to leave you with a quote. And as we were displaying the loose stones and the loose opals, they really look like stars. They really do. And we want to provide you this quote written by Ralph Waldo Emerson. And it says that to be a star, you must walk your own path, shine your own light, and not be afraid of darkness, because that's when a star shines the brightest. I want to thank you again for joining us today, and stay tuned for our next show where we're going to be talking about the opals and the colors. And so we're going to be talking about the science of optics. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you next time on Thursday at 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Have a great day.